to Center Stage. I'm Deanne Conrad, Community Relations Supervisor for the Sioux Falls School District, and Center Stage is an opportunity for us to shine the light on some of our administrators in the district and some of the lead folks who are making decisions regarding education in Sioux Falls. Jamie Nold is joining us today. Jamie is Center Stage. Thanks for being here today. Just going to talk a little bit about who Jamie Nold is and how you got to where you are today. So your current position with the district, tell us about that.
Currently, I serve as Assistant Superintendent of Administrative Services with the Sioux Falls School District.
And what does that mean?
Working with all the building principals. So working with all the building principals out into the buildings, elementary, which is something new to me, middle school and high school, but truly interacting and taking care of the needs of the administrators in the building so that they can do their jobs appropriately in the buildings.
Okay, and that's a tall order, of course, but not one that you are so far removed from, because you came just last year from Washington High School.
Yeah, served as a building administrator, principal at Washington High School for the last 10 years. Outstanding experience, and you always miss pieces of that when you leave and go into a new position. A lot of excitement with the new position, but you miss parts of that, working with the students, interacting with them. But also then served as an assistant principal over at Lincoln High School. Prior to that, taught for several years and coached. So all those different experiences led me to where I'm at right now.
Okay, so what did you teach?
Taught math, everybody's favorite subject. So you get into those classrooms and which was awesome, because you still know you have an impact on some. I was at the grocery store and a lady came up and go, "Do you remember me?" And I said, "You know, I'm not really sure, but I said, you were my math teacher, and thank you. Really appreciate it. I love math." And so you always, great to hear that, because you always know that math isn't necessarily everybody's favorite, but we all have to take it, and you try to make it as fun as you possibly can.
Yeah, awesome. So what was your key to making math fun?
You know, part of it, just building relationships with the kids, and anything that you do, whether it's in the position now or other positions, building relationships. But truly in that classroom, you could do that with the students because you're with them every single day, and just have a little bit of fun, laugh at things that are funny. It wasn't so strict, but yet we always got done what we needed to do, and the kids were prepared, but we just had fun.
So what levels of math did you teach?
All the way from some pre-algebras to up to Algebra 2. Pre-calc was the highest level of math. I did not teach any of the AP Calc, and my daughter asked me questions about it now, and I'm like, yeah, I can't answer that. Sorry.
Well, I think my math abilities probably stopped at freshman algebra. So you've got a few more opportunities to help her along the way than I do to help my kids. But so did you always teach in Sioux Falls? Is that your first teaching job, or?
Taught a few years up in Watertown. Great experience up there. My first 3 years of teaching right out of college were up in Watertown. Enjoyed it immensely, but then got married, and we made a decision, my wife and I, because she had worked down here in Sioux Falls, to come down to this area. And so applied, and my first teaching job in Sioux Falls was at Washington High School. So started out there and taught there for 5 years and coached and did a lot of different activities there.
So in a sense, you were coming back home when you became principal there.
Absolutely. It was good to be gone from there for a few years to experience some other things and other building and some different interactions that way. But it was very, very rewarding when I was able to come back to Washington High School. Very fond of Washington High School, the whole Sioux Falls School District, but obviously a special place there just because that's where I came back and had coached and taught. So it was fun, outstanding experience.
Coaching?
Wrestling was one of the areas. Coached with both in Watertown, and actually even before I got out of college, my senior year in college, I wasn't able to wrestle because I had an injury to my knee. And went over and coached at Lincoln High School with Steve Bombas, but then up in Watertown with Marv Sherrill, and at Washington with Mark Murren.
Sure.
Before going over to Lincoln the 1 year as the head coach there and taught there prior to being in administration.
Okay, well, wonderful. Sounds like you've had a good background, good history, and the position you currently hold today, you're actually not only working during the day, but you're working kind of on the sidelines also, getting your doctorate degree?
Yeah, working on my doctorate. I do have my specialist, so halfway between that master's and doctorate, and started on that this last summer. Hopefully going to have that done in 2 years. Dr. DeYoung is helping me and pushing me to make sure I am entirely done within 2 years and get all that taken care of. So taking that through USD and hopefully going to have that completed very soon. So
do you have a
keeps me
special
busy.
focus that you're working on for your doctorate?
Superintendent's endorsement on that, so it will go through the doctorate and the superintendency. My specialist is a superintendent's endorsement as well, but this will finalize that with a doctorate.
Sure. So for your doctoral project, is there a particular area that you're spending time learning about?
And I do have a fairly significant knowledge of the high school, obviously, and going along with that, the middle school. So the area that I'm looking at in my doctoral research is in the elementary area, and actually pre-K, in a pre-K study to see how those individual students that go into the pre-K programs, how they do 2, 3, 4 years down the road in the elementary.
Sure.
Does it have a significant impact to help them in the elementary years to stay equal or even with their peers, especially those individual students that are in that pre-K program that may be in a state of poverty when they go into that programming. So that's the area I'm going to look into just to make sure I have a better strength of knowledge in that area.
Sure, good. So a good cross-section between the very youngest learners and the very oldest learners. You also have an opportunity to be dad. You talked about your wife and you getting married and making the decision to move into Sioux Falls. But tell us about your kids.
Yeah. My daughter is a senior over at Washington High School and is very involved, maybe too involved, in talking to Mr. Conrad, who's the principal there. She may be in some of the most activities of a student. And I set a rule with both our kids that you have to be involved in at least 2 activities, because I know activities are an incredibly important part of education. And all the things show that the more you're involved, the better you'll do academically, behaviorally, socially, all those things. So she's involved way more than that. Currently, the things that take most of her time are show choir and volleyball. And they did just make the state tournament for volleyball. So proud of her in that, and we're looking at that. And then my son is in 8th grade at Patrick Henry. And he's getting involved in different things too. They just each have their both different niche, but very proud of him. He's a very academic and smart kid. My daughter is too, but he loves more of the reading and electronics and robotics and different things like that. And I thought CTE class was out there just an incredible class to take. So
cool.
2 different kids that way, but both of them, very proud of both of them.
Absolutely, absolutely. Well, your history takes you back talking about high school. He brought this picture willingly, so yeah, it must have been an alright option. But this is Jamie Nold. Have you always gone by Jamie because your emails is James? Yeah,
my given name is James, but my parents had always called me Jamie just because there's another James close by, and then we had another relative, a cousin in the family that was a James as well, and so because of those names being so close that way, they did put mine as Jamie. So how that happened, not quite sure, but
worked out fine. And so this is 1987.
Yeah, 87, and that was Chester High School, the booming metropolis of Chester, but a lot of great memories and experiences and friends, thanks from Chester High School. So yeah, my wife and daughter thought it'd be awesome to show that when I was collecting some different artifacts and pictures. They said, "Oh, you got to show this."
Well, I think it's pretty great that you know it. I was struggling to kind of see your face in this picture, but you know, I'm certain it is you. You didn't just pick a supermodel or something and bring it.
A lot more hair at that time. So.
Well, maybe we'll pass by this picture now, and now that we've had the opportunity to show it. But your interests are quite wide, as you said. You wrestled in high school and in college, but you're pretty much involved, or at least an active fan in a variety of sports, aren't you?
Yeah, still love to follow the high school scene in a lot of different ways with you know, the football, and I'll go to the wrestling and basketball and things. And now able to expand that into the other schools even more so, and get out to watch some of those. And that's been fun. So being a spectator right now has been enjoyable. You always enjoy being on the sideline as well, but love to be active and do things outside, hunting, fishing. Love starting to do those things with my son. And this next weekend, even to be able to go out West River deer hunting with my son is just some great experiences, and my father and brother. but also with the Cowboys and the Dodgers, watching those, even though they get beat up on quite often by other teams, but just doing different things that are activities and being active that way. So really enjoy doing those things, yeah.
Well, you know, there's usually a story behind why someone chooses their lifelong teams. Is there a story behind the Cowboys? I know back in the early days, in the early 80s and such, the Cowboys were pretty good.
They were on TV quite a bit, and my father loved the Rams, and the Cowboys would play the Rams, and he'd cheer for the Rams, so of course I had to go against him, and that was my rebellious, so that's about as rebellious as I got, cheering for the Cowboys, and they were on all the time, so really started to like them, and then that incredible trade they pulled off in the 80s to help them in the 90s, so I loved that. And then the Dodgers, my parents grew up in the LA area, and moved after they got married, moved to South Dakota and to live on a farm, and that's where I grew up, was on a farm.
From LA to a farm?
And my wife, or my mother, holds that against my dad still in some points, that you took me off LA streets, the beaches and everything, and brought me to South Dakota, the cold, the farm, but she loves it. She wouldn't have given that up for anything, and so the Dodgers became part of that story, but she finally convinced my dad to move to Sioux Falls here now in the last few years. So they live down here now, so she's at least in a somewhat larger city.
Yeah, not quite
LA.
LA.
Not LA, no, but a larger city.
Definitely not LA. Well, that's a pretty cool story, that the fact that just that making that leap from such a large city to South Dakota. And I often talk to families that are moving to Sioux Falls, and I know some of them are thinking, you know, maybe their job has transferred them here, or there's an opportunity in the, you know, in the wonderful healthcare system that we have here in Sioux Falls. And more often than not, people will say, I didn't know this place existed. I didn't know that it could be like this. And Sioux Falls is a really great place to raise a family.
Yeah, that's the whole reason why they moved here, is raising a family. And they had, my father had a friend that lived back here that up in the Chester area, had a farm up there, and convinced him, you know, it'd be wise to come back here, a great place to live. And so that's why they moved here, is because it's a great place to raise a family in South Dakota, and it still is. The city of Sioux Falls, we're so insulated at different times from things that go on around us, just the prosperity that has happened here in South Dakota and in Sioux Falls area. But they moved back here because of that and loved it, and never left that area, and have been here. I was born and raised here. My brother lived some in California, but out here for most of that time. So they've loved it, but because we could raise a family here, and that's why we're here as well. It's a great place to raise a family.
Absolutely, absolutely. Well, as principal, you've probably, in your previous principal life, you've had an opportunity to do a variety of different things. And this picture sort of features one of those opportunities that you had. Do you want to tell us a little bit about this?
Yeah, I was able to fly with the Blue Angels, so I hang that on my wall. But it was an opportunity I had, just because they like to get individuals that are in administrative roles or can talk to kids, and just excited about some of the things. So I was able to fly with the Blue Angels, and I've done some other refueling missions and on those jumbo refueling planes, and some different things with the military, and a great respect for what they do. Absolutely. No question about it. But that was an incredible experience to go up there. I will admit, and I showed our staff the film, and I held nothing back. There's times that I am not able to hold it in, and you get sick. But just the G-force, even passed out for a few seconds. And but I do claim that I was flying a jet, a fighter jet, because when I came to after being out 3-4 seconds, I put my hand on the steering wheel, if you will, and he said, "Jamie, let go of that." Now, I didn't really control the plane, but they don't want you to touch those type of things anyway. But
you were just probably trying to get your bearings.
I was.
Grab onto anything you could.
Because you're doing a big circle, and the G-force just takes all the blood out of your head, and you try to, but you just don't have one of those suits that you wear, or aren't able to practice it the same way the pilots are. But what an incredible experience, flying that fast and turning and inverted and the rolls. And but I told him, he kept saying, you know, you still want to keep going? I go, I want to do as much as I possibly can, because I'll probably never have an opportunity to be up here again. And what an incredible experience, and great respect for the individuals that do that, and just the life that they've chosen that way to move
Sure.
around and be part of the military. But great experience.
Yeah. Well, and again, it does kind of give you an opportunity, as you had a connection with students who are making career decisions, to sort of share that information, or at least have a common point of discussion.
Yeah. And
So-
it
and I
is.
know out at Washington too, they have a very active JROTC program as well. So
It is a point of pride with the JROTC program and the students that go into that. And we've had several students that have come out of that program with full rides to colleges and done incredibly well. They even had highlighted a couple of those in the school board meetings.
Right.
But over the years that has happened. And those kids that go into that program, the things that they do, they show up to every single event and present the colors, and they're always there. And the activities they do, the drill guard, and it's just incredible the time and the effort they put into it. It's just like somebody being out for football or basketball or volleyball or marching band. They put an incredible amount of time in, and it's a great service that they give those kids. And then they have an option if they choose to ever to go into the military, and some choose to, some don't. But what a great opportunity afforded them.
definitely a leadership opportunity.
No question about
And
it.
they're in a school or in a community of the size of Washington High School, Lincoln, Roosevelt. There are lots of opportunities for students to lead,
Yeah.
and that would just be one of them.
And we try to encourage, it was one of the big things we continually did, was to show the kids are involved in activities and in leadership roles and things that they can do. Their ability is greatly enhanced. They attend school at a greater rate, their GPA is higher, their social activities and skills, their discipline things are greatly reduced. So it's very important that every kid finds a niche of what they want to do, even when my two kids are just entirely different, but yet they're involved in activities that they love. And so once you become involved, and as larger schools, that's one of the great benefits, is we can provide so many different things. There's 60 different activities at each and every one of our schools, and then the different programs that we offer, and it's something that makes me very proud of the Sioux Falls School District, is just so many things that we can offer kids to be part of and be involved in.
Yeah, you don't have to be just interested in sports or in a particular area of academics, but it's a real broad array of everything from interest clubs to activities, more of the mainstream, drama, or as you mentioned, show choir, those types of things are just lots of opportunities.
And the kids pour their hearts and souls into those things. The show choir, they may have the longest season and put in the most amount of time, but the debate, oral, and terp, just all those different activities that does not require somebody to be athletic, but yet all the athletics are there as well for a kid to be involved in. But we always told the students at any of the schools that if there's not something there you want to be part of, then come in and ask, because we can create a club, we can create an activity. And
that has happened from time to time.
Every single year we've had a new one that started, and maybe one starts to die off with a different fad or phase that kids may go through, but we've started new ones up. There's gaming clubs where they do the video gaming and competitions, and that's gotten incredibly large. I mean, there's kids that are getting scholarships, full rides to MIT and different very prestigious secondary schools because of the gaming things and their programming skills and coding skills, which is another area that kids can just go into and pour their hearts into.
Yeah, awesome. So anytime, if you're watching and you have a student that is trying to find their niche, if the niche isn't out there yet and it's something that can be created, certainly there's the opportunity to do that within a high school setting, because we're trying to get every student connected to something they really love and learning.
Yeah, and they just have to go in and talk to their building principal, activities director, and say, hey, this is something I love. Obviously, we want the educational part, but there's no question an extension of that learning is outside the classroom as well.
Absolutely. So is there anything in Jamie Nold's life that you would have done differently?
Oh, I'd never really spent too much time looking back that way. There's always things that you wish you could go back and do a little differently. But I never regret growing up in Chester, in that area, and on the farm, and the hours that have been in with that. You always think about, well, maybe if I was here or there, but I don't regret that whatsoever. And going through college, there's always things that you do and are involved in, and you think, maybe if I'd put more effort into this or another thing, I could have done some things differently. But nope, I just don't go back and regret those things. I always try to keep a perspective with my faith and family, then my work, and then my play. And kind of in that order going through, and if I always keep those things in perspective, there's choices I'll make that aren't always the greatest, but you reflect on that, and that's part of what makes you who you are.
Exactly. Gets you to where you are today.
And I've always told kids that, sometimes they make a choice and you interact with them, but you always let them know that, what this isn't who you have to be. It's what you do from here forward that truly makes you who you are. Absolutely. And I think that helps some of those families and parents and stuff see that. So I kind of live that same way in there that, I'm going to make mistakes, but proud of what I've done and who I've been. But yet there's some pieces that I always learn and build from, and that's part of growing. You just wish you could know all that when you were younger, but that doesn't happen.
True. Maybe you wouldn't have chosen
I might not have.
The outfit for that. No, it's not bad. For 87, it's really not that bad. So
it's amazing how times change.
Exactly. So in terms of your role in the district today, anything that has surprised you, or just, you've been with the Sioux Falls School District for a number of years, but you just referenced it as well, always learning, always, growing. So is there anything that has kind of been that, wow, I didn't realize that?
Yeah. The one part of it is that I can truly, moving into the position that I'm in now, is just the different opportunities we keep looking for kids. And there's a lot of great programs within our district with the A+ learning in the elementary and with the Spanish immersion and so many different things we look at in New Tech High and what they do there with the project-based, the Career Tech Academy. What an incredible facility the kids can go to. But how we continue to push, looking for what is that next thing that'll help kids be engaged and involved and will help them maybe further into their lives and careers. So that openness to just be very, very much so looking for the new thing that'll help kids that we can get them involved in the elementary, middle school, to keep the Sioux Falls School District on that cutting edge of helping students get to where they need to be. So that's been very good to be on that, group of individuals that look for that, and how can we create those things within our elementaries, middle schools, high schools. So I look forward to that. You're in the high school and you have so many things in a traditional high school, whether that had been at Lincoln or Washington, that you continue to do and try to get things involved, and you create new programs within that smaller space. But this is looking at it a much bigger space for the whole district, and are there new things that we can come up with to help kids for their careers and life. So it's been exciting being able to do that and be part of that.
Sure. Feel the entire K-12 process and such. So I know that we're in the middle of implementing a strategic plan. Dr. Maher, upon coming on board as our superintendent, began that process, and there are lots of little things happening that we hope will turn into big things eventually. But that process has been intense in terms of time commitments and such. Where does your work intersect with that?
And a year ago when the process started, I was fortunate enough to be invited to be part of that team, and was able to go out then on Dr. Maher's behalf to hold some of those input sessions that we had in the community. And we heard a lot of different things from people from the community and our teachers and students. Some different things to make sure to be aware of, what's the new programming. We want to make sure we keep kids engaged and interested. Behavior, how do we make sure we do that so that it doesn't impact the classroom with individual students. Attendance was another one that was part of that. And so as those discussions go through, it's been great to be part of that. Now, specifically in my area, and we're close, we continue to move forward and tweak that strategic plan, but we're close to being able to present that back out again to our teaching staff, to our community, and say these are the things that we're truly going to work on. An area and specifically that I'm working on, diversity in our workforce. We are going back over to some of the high schools and going to work with some of our different students of all different backgrounds to encourage them to go into the area of education. Because we have tried at different times to go to these different areas, and Becky Dorman does a great job of that, of going to these areas and try to recruit people to come to Sioux Falls.
Right.
If you grow up here, you truly know what Sioux Falls is about, and you may not miss being part of the ocean or being part of Arizona, Texas, wherever it is you moved here from. And so it's less likely you're going to leave and go back there when you've grown up here. So we're going to go and start working with high school students and say, hey, here's some opportunities you could have in the area of teaching. That's a very rewarding career. So looking at some of those things. Also working with the juvenile justice system and
Sure.
seeing how we can help kids to make sure that they are in school on a daily basis and to be there. That kindergarten through 5th grade, those teachers work incredibly hard. And working with some of those, we have some meetings coming up here again where we'll meet with some of those teachers to say, if we could change anything in your day, what is it that we could change to make it better for you and the students? So just working on a few different things that way, and it's kind of fun to work on some of those larger projects that have a little greater impact maybe on the overall school system.
Right, right. Where it is, as principal, you're inside working with your core group of students and staff, and now being able to stretch that and make that an impact across the city.
Yeah.
But generally, all in all, Sioux Falls School District doesn't get much better than this. That's for darn sure.
It's an incredible school district, and I tell my daughter and son that, and I tell students that, you know, I grew up in Chester, which was outstanding. They cared for us. It was a small community. We did a lot of things there, but I also didn't realize the number of different activities and classes, and then the level of those classes that students could take and be involved in here in the Sioux Falls School District, with all the AP courses, with the Career Tech Academy courses, the dual enrollment that's right next door that students can go and be part of, and a lot of our students do. But just the significant opportunities they have, and that's an advantage of a larger school district, is that we can offer so many different things to meet the needs of individual kids wherever they're at. The ability also with greater diversity.
Absolutely.
And I said that quite often when an individual graduated from the Sioux Falls schools, any one of our 3 high schools, Roosevelt, Lincoln, Washington, New Tech High, that they're going to come out of there with the experience of interacting with people from all over the world.
Right.
And it truly is literally all over the world.
Yeah.
So that exchange programs, we have that right here in our school.
Yeah, you don't need to go to another country.
Yeah, you don't need to.
You can. You can, but.
And so it's a great benefit that they're going to come out with such a great opportunity to meet other people from all over the world, and the opportunity, educationally speaking, to be involved in so many different things.
Yeah, we have a good thing going here, that's for darn sure. And a good thing going in your leadership as well as our Assistant Superintendent of Administrative Services. So thanks for joining us. Hope you learned something and had a little fun with us today on Center Stage.